It's so funny because I don't talk to people often, multiple times a day, and I just got off another call with you, so it's so nice to talk to another human being.
Oh my God, it's amazing to be able to like, there's a face on the other side of that voice. Hi.
So I know a lot about you, but nobody else, well, not nobody else does, but take the opportunity to introduce yourself because now you're also my test dummy to try this. I'm going to continue it on the podcast, but also then upload the video for people who want to see faces.
Yes, we need faces right now. I think that's so smart. So hi, everybody. I am Katie Huey Harrison. I am the owner and lead author at Undefining Motherhood, which is an educational and advocacy site for women at all stages of their parenting journey, beginning with trying to conceive, infertility, miscarriage, pregnancy, to postpartum and beyond. So we talk about all of the things that nobody really likes to talk about. You'll find lots of hard things on our website. I went through recurrent miscarriage. I went through postpartum anxiety. We cover all of that and a whole lot more. You're going to hear my toddler talking in the background because I did eventually have him, which was awesome. Sorry if he's yelling. That's what this stay-at-home life looks like right now.
Heck yeah.
So that's me. You can check out Undefining Motherhood at undefiningmotherhood.com, and hear, I'm sure, more about what we do just as we go along.
Yeah, and it's so funny because everyone keeps asking me, what are we going to talk about? Do I need to prepare? And I think the whole point of this, and that I'm realizing more and more, is that we can do a lot more with less. Like we can still do and have great, productive, successful days with not necessarily putting in, I'm finding ways to be more efficient is kind of what I'm trying to
Absolutely.
say.
Absolutely. It's like I was putting in an Amazon order yesterday, and I was trying to think through like what are all the things I could need in the next month, because some of these things won't ship out. And so I was thinking for my Jack, my son is almost 3, and I was like, okay, what do I need for Jack to be entertained at home that I don't already have? And I was expecting it to be this huge, crazy list. And then I pulled Melanie, who we also talked to earlier today, for Mostly Under Control. She has a recipe for making homemade slime. I pulled up her recipe for making homemade slime, and I ordered a couple of things that I needed for that. And then I looked at my list and I was like, I feel like that's it. So I got some balloons because those are fun to blow up at different times, and you can
Smart.
have like last parties. But I was like, I don't need anything. Like we have toys and crafts and paper and crayons, and he doesn't, in my head, needed all these things, and he really doesn't. He just needs food and shelter and parents, and he's happy.
Yeah. And well, because you have a dog too, don't you?
I do. I have a dog. Yes, she's loving this everyone being home thing.
I think it's so funny because someone said it on Instagram the other day that their kids are just so happy because the people are home all the time. But dogs and kids, I'm finding like my kids are loving life. They are just, they're going to be horrors to go back to school because they're just loving every moment with us. And yeah, it's insanely hard, but at the same time, they're literally living their best little lives right
It's really true. I had a really big struggle the other day. My Jack's preschool teachers are sending out daily videos where they read stories to the kids, and he watched from his favorite. He loves both of his teachers, but as always, there's a favorite. And he was watching the video from his favorite. He watched it like 20 times that day,
now.
and it hit me for the first time. He's probably never going back to these teachers.
Oh my God.
I know. I know. I'm sorry. I just did it to you too. Like he didn't know that when he left, and it shattered me. And so I was talking to my therapist about it the next day, via the same kind of video call. And I'm so devastated for all that he's losing now, even though he doesn't know he's losing it. And it's something I didn't expect in parenthood, to just be so sad for him. And said, I understand, and those feelings are valid, and you those feelings, but I also want you to have the perspective that he's having the time of his life. Mommy is home, all the time. Daddy is home all the time. And it actually kind of took me back. So you're going to laugh at this, living in Ottawa. But I live in Atlanta. So weather situation, very different. Also isolation situation, very different. And so when I was 8 years old, we had what is known as the blizzard of 93.
Okay.
And so in 1993, we had this blizzard, and there were 22 inches of snow on my back porch. And that is snow I've ever seen in my life outside of like going skiing. We were out of power for a full week.
Wait, we're talking like this much snow?
Yeah, that like this much snow is snow that I've ever seen on the ground where I live. Normally in Atlanta, we don't get snow, we get ice.
Yeah.
And this was legit snow, and it was almost 2 feet of it. And that to us is insane. And our infrastructure can handle it. And I actually wasn't in Atlanta. I was about an hour north of Atlanta, so I'm like up the interstate. And so there was nothing to really help us. And so we were out of power for a week. We took all the contents of our refrigerator and freezer and put them on our back porch in the snow. And we were really lucky because we had a gas grill, which at that time wasn't nearly as big a thing as now. And so my dad was able to cook. And my parents talk about this time. It was the most miserable, terrifying week of their lives. It was freezing, no running water. We had running water, but we didn't have hot water. They didn't know what to do for their kids. They were so scared for us, and they were so miserable personally. And I was 8, and I remember this as being so much fun. I got to sleep in a bed with my daddy, and we got to camp in the living room in front of the fire, and we got to cook together, and like dad scramble eggs in a pan on the grill. Who does that? I just remember this huge adventure. And so that's what I'm trying to remind myself, like, Austin's not going to remember this, and Jack's not going to remember this. Aubrey will have bits and pieces of it. But for them, this is this huge fun. They don't, yeah, they feel the stress that we feel. Like, they're having a good time, and they're loving this family time. And I think for me, that's been a really important mental health note. It's like, I'm worried about everything he's losing, but he just sees all things that he's gained.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think my number one thing started off being concerned about the kids. And then it pretty quickly flipped to, okay, they're important, but I need to put me at the top because otherwise this is going to unravel really quickly.
Exactly. Well, and and one of the things I really advocate for is putting yourself first, because we can be better to the people we love if we're in good shape. And so that's one of my big points in general, but also just right now, can't be a if I'm a mess, and so I have to take care of myself and find ways not be a crumbling disaster. Because he sees it, he knows it, he understands if I'm stressed. And
Yeah, he's
so
old enough to get that.
yeah, they feel it, they get it. So yeah, we have to find ways to get whatever it is that we need, to just try to function and feel better for ourselves, because I mean, it makes all the difference in terms of the amount of fun that they're able to have. If we disappear for an hour because we need a mental health break, they're losing an hour with us, but they're gaining much better time with us later when we come back.
A non-snappy mom. What are some of the things that you're doing right now to help you not be a snappy mom?
Snappy mom. Oh my gosh. So one of the things I'm doing, honestly, is stuff like this. So like the call we were on earlier was actually, for everyone who doesn't know, we're in a group together that's actually about business. And both Erica and I said when we got on, I don't actually have anything I need to talk about. I see faces and friends. And so things like that, some of these groups that are things that help our businesses are huge because we only through Zoom. Nothing's changed. Yeah. It feels normal, and that's huge. Little pieces of normalcy. I am really fortunate in that I have a Peloton bike in my house, and so I'm able to jump on my spin bike. Actually, on Sunday morning, it was awesome. One of my friends was like, let's do a group. And she got a group together. And she was the only person I knew, but it didn't matter. I was seeing these people, and you can see their names and you can high five them. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a spin class with right now. Even though I can't see them and I only know one of them, it just felt really good. For me, I love yoga. And so just jumping onto my yoga mat has been a really big thing, even if it's just 10 minutes. You doing like those Go Noodle, Aubrey and Austin doing. I've been trying to get Jack to do yoga and stretch with me, and he is having none of it. He thinks it's damn cool, and he says, "Stop, Mom, stop!" So I found has to be done away. I had to go to the basement and disappear. But little things like that, and then just finding ways to incorporate him into things that I normally wouldn't. Worrying about things I normally wouldn't. So, or not worrying about things I normally would. So he's watching right now. And you know what?
Watch.
That's what it is.
He's watching what? Sorry, you cut it.
TV. He's getting time in a way that I wouldn't normally give it to him. And I just told myself, you can't worry about this. You need it. It's good for everyone's sanity. And then doing things like incorporating him into cookies. And we never make unhealthy things in our house. And we've made cupcakes and brownies in the past 6 days. Because bake, and it gives us something to do. And so for me, it's really just finding those little personal moments, and then also finding ways to bring him into what I'm already. If I'm gonna cook, okay, let's muffins, and Jack come make muffins with me because he's gonna enjoy it. And those little things give us time. Still helps me decompress, and it helps me feel a little bit better. But I think if you can find ways to get away from your children for a little while, that's huge, particularly for those of us with some introverted elements to us. We need books and podcasts are like my very best friend because they just take, actually games. So the other night, my husband and I played a game. And I was like, even a card game or something like Taboo, even if there are only two of you and you don't have anyone to compete against, I actually still think it's fun to get to play. And at first, my husband was like, why are we going to play games? I don't want to play games. We don't do that. And then by the time it was over, we were like, oh my God, wine and board games. Like, we just totally left the world for a little while Jack slept. This was heaven. So I think there are all sorts of things that we can do for our own mental health and sanity. It's just getting creative and figuring out what works in your physical space and in your life and for your personality.
I think that's such an important point, is it's for your personality and for your life and your space, because there's one of the things that I'm finding, I talk about it a lot, that's really overwhelming right now is the amount and volume of things that are available, which is great, but it's that pressure of, well, I should be doing 1 million things, but you don't have to. What makes you feel relaxed is by literally not doing, then
Absolutely.
Just don't.
Like, if what you want to do through this is watch Netflix and read books, honestly, I want to watch Netflix and read books. It sounds great. Like, I don't think we need, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of pressure to see this as time to be productive. Like, oh, we're not as busy as normal, so let's be productive. And I think for the right personality, that's the right approach. But for a lot of us, maybe it's time to say, hey, we never take the time to rest like we used to. Let's rest. Let's cuddle with our kids and watch Frozen 2. And how many times have we all done that? And
every single day since it's come out.
Pretty much. And so, I think, why not? Like, this doesn't have to be a time when you join all the groups and you do all the exercise. Like, it's funny because I mentioned exercise in two of my ways of sort of that's just what has helped in the past couple of days. So it's what I thought of. What also helps is sitting in my recliner with my toddler on my lap watching Frozen 2. That is heaven. Why not do it? And I think that time to slow down is so important.
It's the dream.
Oh,
It's
slow.
Do you have any, before we go, do you have any tips or any sort of things that you've learned in this process? Because I know that especially where you are, things are really nutty.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because I don't see the nuttiness, because I am completely 100% homebound. I am immunocompromised, and so I haven't left my house in a week and a half. And I have no idea when I will leave it again. Luckily, we do have some outdoor space. So if you follow me on Instagram and you see these outdoor pictures, it's not that I'm going out. It's just that I'm lucky enough to be like just barely in the burbs of Atlanta, just barely. So Atlanta's kind of defined by this circle that is the perimeter, and you're either inside the perimeter or outside the perimeter, and I am on it. Basically like 0.08 miles from it. But what that means is that I live far enough out that you have a little bit of, it's not a ton, but it's enough to be able to get out and enjoy outside. And our weather right now, it's rainy and gross, but in general, we're to a point right now where the weather is nice enough that you can get outside and enjoy. And so, you know, there is a lot of craziness in Atlanta because the city itself has been shut down, but the state of Georgia, nothing. Literally, a press conference with the governor yesterday said that the medically fragile are under a shelter-in-place order. And I was like, so you're telling me that those of us who know we can't leave home and having home should continue to not leave home? Helpful, very helpful. Thank you.
Good use of everyone's time.
Yeah, so everyone's really confused around here. It's really weird. And I'm told that if you're in the city, it's pretty crazy, and that if I got out, I would see that, but I literally don't leave my house. So like my husband showed up at the pharmacy yesterday for me in a mask and gloves, and he said the grocery store was insane. There were so many people there, and he was the only one in a mask and gloves. And he said to the pharmacist, "I'm sorry, I'm just being cautious for my wife." And the pharmacist was like, "No, you're not. You're the only in here who looks like they should." So it's interesting, and I think tips, just do what you need to do and take care of yourself, but stay home. Because if you live in a place like I do, where you're not being forced to, a lot of us think we don't have to, and you know what? We really, really, really do. Please stay home.
I know. You know what? It's okay. This is an embarrassing thing and a complete aside. But when I think of Atlanta, I think of, did you ever watch The Walking Dead?
So no, but I know all about it. They actually filmed one of their episodes at my husband's asphalt plant.
So cool.
And everybody loved it. And we were like, we've never seen it. What's cool about this?
Oh my God. It's so, but it's like basically Atlanta is just like this SHIT show city. And it's where all the hub of everything sort of, well, it doesn't start, I don't think, but that's now what I picture with all the chaos that's going on. Like, that's The Walking Dead.
It's with snow a couple of years ago, that people called snowpocalypse. And it was just sitting in their cars because they couldn't get home. And people made so much fun of us. But I was getting this ice. Like we got suddenly out of nowhere 2 inches of ice. Like who can drive on that? Of course, the tractor trailer trucks are going off the road, stopping all the traffic. But what we saw from that was these images from The Walking Dead popping up online as memes, and it would show like the traffic coming out of the city completely stopped and the traffic going into the city non-existent. And it was, God, this is happening. And I feel like if I could leave my house to see it, that's what I would see right now from what everyone is telling me. Is like everybody's trying to leave, but no one wants to come. And in the city, no, they're under a shelter-in-place order, so nobody can move. So it really is kind of, yeah, picture The Walking Dead like intro right now, and that's what we look like from what I'm told.
That's too funny. Well, if people want to find you online, where can they go?
They can find me obviously on my website, undefiningmotherhood.com. They can also find me on Instagram at khuey harrison. So that's KHUIE Harrison. I know people always ask, why aren't you just Undefining Motherhood? And the reason is because I'm an author. And so I actually need people to know my name and not just my website name. But yeah, so K Huey Harrison on Instagram or Pinterest, and then / Undefining Motherhood on.
Perfect. I'll put those all in the links. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being my test dummy with the video today.
Oh, you bet. This has been so much fun. Like, I feel like I've social. I can now crawl back into my hole and it will be okay.
Thank you again.
All right. Have a good one, Erica.